If we think more on the kind of the relationship side of things, one of the things that we, of course, understand is that the whole notion of customer experience is a moving target. The issue, quite simply, is that, it doesn't stay still for very long. There's this constant push and pull of emerging technologies and growing customer expectations that means the ball keeps moving. It's not a straight shot, single pot. There's a constant game at play, and you need to be able to keep moving the ball, following it along. And the issue, of course, is that then it doesn't feel so much like a project with a kind of a one-and-done project. It's an ongoing program. Some of the things that the data points to in terms of what drives the impetus for a digital transformation project, what forces us to think about how do you relate to people in different ways, are some very, very fundamental things. Time. Value your customers' time. 73% of consumers say that valuing their time is the best way you can provide good service. Why? Time is finite. We're on this earth for whatever, 70 or, whatever you want to believe, and what happens after that is equally up to you. But the point is that time is finite, and it's ticking as we stand in this room. And so how do we, as an ecosystem, thinking about our own customers in turn, innovate around ways that help customers save time? Why? Because for all the beauty of a great experience or the wonderful interaction someone may have with someone on the phone or whatever it happens to be, that's not really what they were trying to do. They were looking for some kind of outcome. It was to get something ordered in time for a holiday delivery, or download that video, or whatever it was. It was the outcome that was important, and the time taken to get to the outcome is like noise. If my outcome is a hot cup of coffee down my throat, everything before then and me tasting the caffeine is noise. So value customer time as a fundamental driver of how to evolve these experiences, where to take the friction out of it. And this isn't just consumer-centric. Turns out there's other data that correlates with this, and this is from CEB looking at business buyers. So those folks that do business-to-business transactions, well, unsurprisingly, those have got more complex. CEB, who do a lot of research in this arena, now say that business buying takes up to 7.5, I think, or 8 very different buying groups inside an organization, or constituencies inside an organization, to conduct a transaction. This has gone up from 5 a year ago and 4 a couple of years before that. We care about this. I mean, you are our customers, and I know I've had conversations with some of you that even buying from us was kind of tortuous at times. It was a process, and we're committed to continue to whittle away the friction within that and make it easier and narrow down contracts and all this good stuff. Why? Because it's exhausting. So B2C customers want the speed and convenience and save them time. B2B customers say it in a different way, which is it takes too long. It's exhausting to transact. What's worse than that data is the follow-on point, which says, and it makes us not want to do it again. So think of your own scenarios, right? If you have business customers who've bought from you and you know that there's a phase 2, a phase 3, a phase 4, they're so exhausted from the first one that they actively put off the next phase because they've got to go through all the same pain again. It's an inhibitor to speed. These are some of the things they say. It was a hassle with delays, very hard, a lot of research. It was a ton of work and effort, exasperating. These are not great words to have associated with anyone's brand and purchase experience. So the point is that as consumers and as business buyers, and we're all consumers, and many of us are business buyers too, let's constantly put ourselves in the shoes of those folks and think what they're trying to do is get their job done, or get their taco bought. And so those folks that are thinking about this and can use this as an impetus for fundamentally changing those experiences. Here's a couple of examples, and maybe just as a case in point. How many people bought a Starbucks this week? Hands up. Yeah, more than that. It's probably 3/4 of the room. Okay. How many people either paid for that Starbucks with the app hands are already going up, right? Okay. thank you. How many people ordered in advance and picked it up when they got there? Okay, hands are going up, right? So it turns out Starbucks is fundamentally focused on eliminating customer pain. And by that, what they mean is, how do you not have to stand in line between 15 other people at 8:01 when you're supposed to be at your desk? By having ordered in advance, the coffee's there at the pickup, you walk in, you grab it, you drink it, you don't even stop. Okay? That's relevant to me because I'm in a hurry. I don't want to spend my time in the experience of standing in line. They've thought this stuff through. What they're valuing for me there is time. By the way, 25% of their in-store transactions now are mobile. So it works. So the folks that didn't put up their hands, try it out. Customer control, another example. How do you give people the empowered capability to do more and have an experience that they can act upon? Well, Hilton does this with the app that they use for guest check-ins. And it really gives you the ability as a Hilton user to choose the exact room that you want and go open the door. Well, guess what? Turns out a third of customers that are entitled to do this have already used it. And they love it. Why? It saves them time. It gets them the outcome, which is check in, have a shower, right? Not stand in line and wait and figure out and wait for the right room to become available. And then this notion of anticipating customer needs. So example there's so much data available about people and us in this room, our identity, our preferences, purchase history, payment preferences, and so on. So Panera, for example, who do sandwiches, have kiosks in store. And those kiosks, which now account for 45% of purchases, include things like what you last ordered. So if you like a regular, avocado BLT, it's at the top of the list. Bunk. Turns out that has fundamentally made it more relevant for people who perhaps saw that brand as something that wasn't that digital and relevant for them anymore. They're seeing a huge uplift in business because they've been able to personalize the experience for folks. There are more examples, and I could go on for days, which I won't. But just to give you another example of customer pain. How many people have been to Disneyland or Disney World? Yeah, like all of us, right? And we all know that depending on when you go, it's a lot of fun, interspersed with very long periods of standing around that include things like standing around to buy things, and so it goes on. Well, with their wristband technology, again, they focused on the customer pain thing, and really what they're trying to do there is take the friction out of paying or shopping for anything or dining. You just swipe against the little beacons. Tom Staggs, who is then the chairman of Walt Disney's parks, and I quotes, wanted to build a more immersive, more seamless, and more personal experience, and invested $1 billion in that. Okay? Why? Because we all go there, and we want to spend more time having fun and less time having to get to that fun. This notion of control, so this is a local one. Golden State Warriors fans in the room? Woohoo, go Warriors. We're going to, sorry if they're, I knew that'd be a boot. Had to be. But here we are. So down across the bay in Oakland is the Oracle Arena, and you know what? If you go in there as a fan, and you're on your way up to the nosebleed seats because that's the only ones we can afford these days, if they have capacity further down, they have beacons that basically sense where you're going, and they offer them to you as a signed-up fan at discounted rates, so that you can be closer to the action. That is so cool, right? What are they doing? They're taking all the information they know about you, including the fact that you kind of had to buy pauper tickets that you're not even going to be able to see the game from, and they're rewarding you with the ability to actually, upgrade and go downstairs. And then take this one, Taco Bell, case in point. So Taco Bell makes sure that folks can get their apps, get their apps. If they get the Taco Bell app, they get their tacos in a way that, again, has enhanced the process. So they effectively do, if you order from the app, they enable this ring fencing capability where if you are within 500 meters or feet, maybe yards, 500 somethings, right? Depending where you're from, 500 somethings, the staff start making that taco. So that when you walk in there, it's done, you pick it up, you go. Great. They're taking the friction out of standing in line, waiting for someone who doesn't know what they want to order. When you want the outcome, which is food. Turns out, 5 million customers have downloaded this app. Turns out that those folks each spend $10 a go when they visit, which is 30% more than if you went and stood in line. So the reason I'm using these examples is we can all relate to them. We've all done one of these things that I just went through. Some of us have done maybe all of them. But the point is that as consumers, we see these things. We need to bring those into our own environments and reimagine to a degree how we can help our own customers save time, whether they're consumers, whether they're business buyers.